Installing your micro registration attachment to the silver press is actually fairly easy. You'll get your unit completed like this out of the box. There's two sides to your unit. There's the screen arm or back clamp side, and there's the front clamp side. Now your front clamp side is flat. Your back side has your micro knobs on it. To install this on your unit, the first thing you'll want to do is to take your head or your screen clamp off. This is done simply by loosening your two off contact screws in the back of the head right here with a 1/2-inch wrench. And once these are loosened, just sliding the head or the screen clamp off the head. Okay, once this is off, you'll have to take your bolts or off contact bolts out of the screen clamp. So the first thing you want to do is you want to move the screen clamp down so that the bolts have the ability to move past it. Once it's all the way down, you want to take some type of hammer and you just want to set this on a solid surface and just knock these out. Now your screen clamp is ready to install on your micro unit. Remember, this flat side is your screen clamp side of the micro unit. These bolts are once again 1/2-inch bolts and they should be finger tight, so you should be able to just loosen them. Now you're ready to install the bolt back into the screen clamp. Now we recommend doing this when this is off the micro unit, so you have the flexibility to work this bolt in. The washer will go between the bolt and the back end of the clamp. So put the washer on the screw or the bolt first and then work it in. Depending on how your clamp is drilled or was originally drilled, the second bolt or the first bolt may be a little bit hard to install. So what you want to do is you want to slide it in the slot, and then you can also use this screw to turn towards the bolt and help it slide into place. So I kind of used that screw, turned it towards the bolt to help it slide into place, which then released it and allowed it to slide into place. Worst case scenario, if you could actually not get these bolts in, you can take this clamp off, which we have instructions on how to do. It's pretty easy. The next step is taking the screen clamp and attaching it to the micro attachment. Now to do this, we've placed the micro attachment on the edge of a table, or right now it's on our platen. This allows us to line these two holes up and the holes in the bolts together accordingly without putting any pressure on them. So I'm just going to by eye line these bolts up here and then just start threading them into this. See what I'm doing right there. Once the thread has started, we can then turn the unit upside down and access the bolts to the best of our ability. Recommend finger tightening them until they get locked into lock position. Once finger tight, take a 9/16 wrench and just snug them up the rest of the way. You don't want to snug them too tight because you could strip the threads, and once the threads strip on this unit, then it's done. So just snug them finger tight. You can always come back and tighten them up just a little bit more if needed if you're noticing that it's slipping during the printing process. Now our clamp and micro assembly is ready to attach to the press. Take the 1/2-inch bolts off the back of the micro assembly and then slide it onto the screen arm. If you're having a problem with getting these bolts into place, you can loosen your adjustments here, which give these two brackets a little bit more flexibility. Put your washer on first and take your 1/2-inch nut and then hand tighten it. Same thing with the other side. Once installed and your bolts are still loose, you should be able to move the whole assembly up and down to adjust off contact and tilt the same way you would have before. Our system is in place and we've attached and tightened down a screen to it. Once we've checked our off contact here, we will then tighten the off contact and tilt adjustment bolts in the back. After your micro is installed, you want to install a screen, clamp it down, and put the screen in the print position. You also want to tighten all your off contact and tilt adjustments as they would be printed with on the press. The next thing you want to do is center out your micros. Your micros will come all the way to the back position, and then if they don't come all the way to the knob position, you'll want to move them all the way to the knob position. The first thing you'll want to do is loosen your lock knobs. This gives your micro free range of movement. To center out your micros, we'll first work with the back clamps, and we'll move them about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch out. Now what this does is this enables the micros to move forward or backwards. If we started with them in the back position, then you could only move forward. So if you had to do any back adjustment on your micro, you'd be screwed. So we're going to go ahead and move that about halfway out. It's going to be roughly 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch, somewhere in between there. Doesn't have to be precise. And then same thing with this side clamp right here. We'll move that about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in. And this will give us a center start position so we can move 1/2 inch that way, 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch that way, 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch this way. To demo the micro adjustment, we'll be registering a simulated process color to the film of that color. First thing you want to do is center your palette up. So place the screen in the clamp position, tighten it down, and then bring the palette with the film on it according to the shirt position needed on the palette. Tape it down to the palette underneath. Bring it up to the prox position that your screen will register in. Doesn't have to be perfect because that's what our micros are for. Then we'll tighten the platen down. Now we have micro adjustment to move our screen into registration. Now you always want to get your screen as close as possible. So I'm just going to get it fairly close like that, tighten it down, and now I'll micro it in. If you notice, I can make back and forward adjustments like so, and then also side to side adjustments. So as my screen gets into registration, I can move my screen quickly and effectively. When most people learn to use their micros, they'll actually step to the back of the screen and look over the screen, adjusting accordingly. The key is you need to look down through the center of your screen, holding your artwork to the palette, so releasing the off contact to ensure that your screen is registered. This can be done the same way for artwork as it would be to film. If you want to move the whole screen forward and back at the same time, you can move both knobs at once. If you move one knob, it will move forward and to the right or left. You can find a combination of all these knobs, and as you learn how to use the micro unit, you'll get better and better at adjusting it. Once you've adjusted your screen and you've double checked for registration, we'll hold the screen down and then tighten the lock knobs. We want to go finger tight and then another 1/4 of a turn. You do not want to strip these knobs. If you tighten them too tight, they will strip, then you'll have to replace the knobs. We'll double check and check one more time that registration is intact. Check our screen clamps. And now we're ready to continue to the next color or start printing the job. Once locked down, this screen will maintain registration again and again, consistently and effectively over the course of printing. To help ensure that, you do want to make sure that your nylon bolts are tightened snugly against the screen arm. You also want to ensure that your set nuts are counter-tightened so that these cannot slip out. As you continue to use the micro registration system, you'll develop your own technique and become comfortable with it. So we do recommend practicing with it so you can develop that technique and then refine it.